Rod, you all good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, you guys can start lining up in the chat for questions for Rod. Robert, you can kick it off.
Hey, Coach. I want to talk first about just the offense on Friday night and specifically the targets from your quarterback. So I'll just read the list to you. 10 went to Bebe, 3 to Barker, 1 each to Hightower, Epstein, Brown, Ford, Washington, and Navarro. You talked in the offseason about spreading the ball around and having more weapons. What's your feeling toward those numbers after the first game?
I don't know if we ever go into a game and say, this guy's got to have this many targets, this guy's got to have this many. A lot of times the matchup with the defense can depend on where the ball goes. Obviously I think there is amount of touches that Bebe's got to touch it because he's been proven and we know what he can do. So there's times I think there's a confidence level between Brandon and Josh. Particularly in man coverage, that ball probably tends to go over there a little bit. And I don't blame him. I probably would too, as long as the matchup is conducive. So, do you want to get it spread around? Absolutely you do. And, you want to try to be as fluid with that in terms of who's touching the ball, whatnot. But I'm not going to sit here and try to micromanage every touch, every target. We don't do that. We basically read coverage. Every available receiver who's out there, tight end, running back, wide receiver, no matter who it is always a target. It all depends on how the defense plays as far as where that quarterback is. Progressions tend to lead. So we don't just straight this a progression 1, 2, 3, 4 right here from right to left every time. A lot of times coverage dictates a lot of that type of stuff and where the quarterback works.
So watching the film and the decision making, you feel like that's what Wisconsin was giving, and that's why Brandon made all those decisions?
Obviously there's some decisions we'd like to have back. I don't think we didn't. It's obvious we didn't play as good as a whole. None of us coached well enough. We didn't play well enough. It's disappointing how we lost our fundamentals that we've been really working on. So that's stuff that as a coaching staff, myself, we got to get corrected. But the way Wisconsin decided to play us was a lot of man coverage, a lot of cover one. There's matchups, there's situations you try to get into, and I think that's what Brandon saw, and that's what he's been taught. If you like your matchup, you take it. If otherwise, we're looking for man friendly routes and within the concept. So we ran a couple of rub routes, we counted a couple of things like that. Mike Epstein up the rail on a mesh concept one time on third down. There's different scenarios there, but there was a lot of throws, Robert, that one we need to make better as far as throw better, and there's also times we got to catch the football too. There's a lot of drops or not a lot of drops, but some drops that were crucial. One on third down, there's a couple of them that the wideout's open, and we got to deliver the football to them. So there's room to go around for work for everybody.
Okay, thanks.
Kevin?
Hey, Rod, good to see you. You guys were 0 for 3 on fourth downs, which seemed to, kind of take away the momentum you guys were trying to create with those plays. Just how crucial were those non-conversions in trying to get something going?
No, you're exactly right. They were very crucial. And, we go back and study the tape and watch the film. And the crazy part is, we thought we had good plays called set up in order to get them executed. The toughest one was probably the 4th and 1. They came with a cover 0. We had a split zone called, and we cut the blitzer and we get the ball up underneath to the tailback to Mike. You're hoping you can get up in for one behind the line. Brandon unfortunately pulled it because he pulled one just 2 plays before that and made a big yardage, and it was a different scenario. So it's one of them ones you got to live and learn. It's a teaching moment, but. And that wasn't the only one. The 4th and there's one, the 4th and 3, 4th and 6 after Hightower jumped all sides. We had an open defender, we had an open wide receiver in Casey at one point where the ball should probably be delivered to. But those things happen. Guys miss things. We just got to get better at them, obviously. But you're right. I mean, and then the last one was the 4th and 2. We had Bebe on slant, and Brandon's eyes are right. Decision was great. Threw the ball. Ball ended up being low. But if we block the defensive end like we're supposed to up front with our tight ends, then basically that play has a better chance of executing. So, like, once again, there's a lot of work to go around from all of us. I can do a better job of putting them in position. We got to do a better job of executing. The execution to me was the key. That what we did not do on Friday, part of that was we just lost our fundamentals a lot of times.
Thanks, Rod.
Yep.
Scott Beatty.
Hey, Rod, what was the disconnect then between the execution of those fundamentals and maybe what you saw in practice? Do you think the adrenaline, the moment got to him? Was it something that caught you off guard, not expecting to see that?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, Scott. That's whatever, you just sit back and you think that, we've had some pretty good weeks of practice and you got an older group. That's the mistakes we made were what, you'd expect from a first group, a younger group going through. So that's the disappointing part. We got to get it corrected. Obviously, that's what we're going to work on this week. And I can't answer that. I don't know if it was the adrenaline, the first game. I can't tell you. I just know it's unacceptable. We can't have it. And, and I got to do a better job coaching to make sure it doesn't happen. So that's, that goes on me. We got to get it done and as a staff and make sure our players are doing what we asked of them and carry it from the practice field to the game field as well, not just on the practice field only.
Sometimes you can only learn from the game, like you said, whether it's a win or a loss. Do you think there's something that your guys are taking out of this that they could only take from what happened on the field?
Well, we watched it. Obviously, it's sickening. It makes you want to throw up. As bad as we played, as bad as it was, there were still opportunities for plays to be made. I could count 4 different times where we're down either inside the Wisconsin 30, where you're getting down to scoring territory now, where we didn't get anything. We squandered on 4th downs, or like you said earlier, we're driving and we stopped the momentum because we don't convert on 4th down. We had a play action deep shot. Donnie Navarro up by himself on a wheel route one time, completely uncovered, which would have been a huge play, maybe even a touchdown. So it's things like that we just got to make sure that when the opportunity presents itself, we got to connect or we got to execute. And that's part of the correction phase that we're going through right now that we got to get adjusted.
And finally, time of possession. I know it's not everything the score is, but where in your offense, given how you like to play and the pace and all that, would time of possession need to be?
Well, I don't know where it needs to be. Never really had that, thought of that as an end all be all. The reality comes down to this: are you scoring points? If you're not scoring points, then time of possession probably does matter quite a bit. If you're scoring points, then I don't know I think that's kind of is what it is. But if you're not scoring points, and then that's going to be an issue, obviously, because you're not taking care of the football, you're not moving the chains, and you're letting your defense play on the field too much at times. So yeah, I hear you. But no, I don't have an earmarked time as far as what we need to have, because it's not a ball control offense. It's a put players out in space and try to create matchups and big plays. So it's all about rhythm. It's all about getting first downs, and first downs lead to touchdowns. That's what it's all about.
Thank you.
Kedrick.
Hey, Coach. Coach Smith talked about his concern for the running game. And last week, was it more or less the lack of running game? Was it the offensive line? Was it something Wisconsin was doing to take the running game away? Because that's traditionally a big part of what you do offensively. And last Friday, it just seemed like it was pretty much non-existent at that time, except for the runs that Brandon Peters was able to muster up.
Well, first off, you got to give Wisconsin credit. They're a very good football team, particularly on defense. And they came in with a little bit different game plan than what they've had before, in terms of they stuffed everybody up in the box. They threw 7 up in there the whole entire time, ran what we call bear front type basically, and try to take away in between tackles runs, in between the tackle runs. The most hay we made was on the outside. Brandon pulled the thing and had a couple of chunk runs. Mike Epstein got a couple counter plays, balance up to the outside. That was we made the adjustment, after the second quarter, after about the first quarter, and trying to start doing more outside counters and stuff to get on the perimeter. So probably could did. If I had to do over again, I'd let Brandon probably run a little bit more. To be honest with you, I was trying to be protective of him and not running as much, but I probably had to do a little bit more to get a good job with it. And but yes, they're got to give credit to them. They're a big bunch of big, strong, physical, hard playing guys up inside. It was tough. I mean, that's when you throw that many bodies up inside, it's hard to run, and now it makes your throwing game even more important. That's why we got to be able to win in man coverage. We got to be able to win one-on-one matchups at times and be able to connect. So that's probably more so that than anything.
Okay, thank you.
Josh.
Hey, Coach. I guess this is a little bit of a follow-up of the last question. Brandon was your leading rusher with 75 yards, and Epstein and Chase Brown combined for less than half of that. Do you plan on keeping Brandon as effective as he was in the run game, and how do you plan on getting Epstein and Brown involved next week against Purdue?
Yeah, once again, it's you're running to a numbers game. Once again, it's kind of like what I just said to Kedrick. When that many bodies are up in between the tackles, and there's not a lot of lanes for the tailback to run. Obviously we'll be better. We'll be better equipped. We'll be better suited. Hopefully this week moving forward to be able to adjust to it, maybe faster, quicker, to get those guys hopefully more involved. Brandon, I got to let him play. I got to let him be himself. And if it means he pulls it and tucks it and runs once in a while, then so be it. I just got to let him do that more. He's not, he likes to do that too. So I was just trying to protect him a little bit, but that's probably me holding him back a little bit. I just got to let him play a little bit more about when it comes to those type of things as far as running football. When the defense presents itself like it did.
Thanks, Coach.
Alec.
Hey, Coach. Hope you're having a good day. First question I guess I have revolves around the tight ends. And you talked a lot about how impressive Luke Ford's been in practice and how he's not busting as much and his knowledge of the offense has increased. In terms of getting him a little bit more involved, what do you need to see? And are you hoping to get him more involved, I guess, this weekend against Purdue?
Well, we're trying to get the amount of offensive production we had on Friday. We need to get everybody involved. We don't just try to get one guy involved. We try to get everybody involved as much as possible. And, I went back and looked, and I looked to see how Brandon dispersed the football, where his eyes were going. The first 3 to 5 pass plays were all targeted to the tight ends, the first 3 to 5. Now, it might not have been lined up in your typical tight end position in line. They were flex, they were whatever, but 3 of the first 5 passes were either the tight end was getting targeted or he was supposed to be that he would be the natural first progression in the concept. So, but once again, I don't try to sit or say, I gotta make sure this guy touched it. If there's one guy that right now that probably deserves to touch this Josh Bebe for what he did last year. The other guys are still playing, and yes, they're good football players, and the ball will come to them. It's just a matter of playing. I don't want to get into this. This guy's got to touch this many balls. This guy's got to do that, because then all of a sudden now when it don't happen, is it a failure? Is it a you know what I mean? All that matters is, are we winning? Are we doing the stuff offensively, what it takes to make sure that we put ourselves in a position to win football games? We didn't do that on Friday. So to me, that's where the issue is. And then how do we correct it? Because there was opportunities for us to make plays, few and far between, but there's still opportunities against a good football team that game should have been a lot better, a lot closer than what it was.
And then a quick follow-up. Coach Smith mentioned that Daniel was held out with an injury. How important is it going to be to get him back involved with the offense this week?
Yeah, he's been out for a little bit. So he's got he's some catch-up work to do, obviously, because the injury has held him out for a couple of days. So yeah, it'd be nice to get him back to get him back in the groove, because he's the one guy that's got some. He's not the one guy. He's another guy that has talent. But he's also, he's had the least amount of reps of anybody as well, too, because, other guys have been here a little bit longer and had more time at it. So, definitely love to get him back and get him going.
Jeremy.
Hey, Rod. Hope you're well. The last 3 games Brandon has played in, he's led you in rushing. And I know he's not Khalil or Denard or Pat, but I know you probably had to make adjustments to your offense given that he's more of a pocket passer. But now that he's done that, how do you adjust to his running success, or can you go more to the style of offense you had at Arizona?
Yeah, Jeremy, I mean, you're what you're talking about is exactly what I was just admitting to just a little bit ago. I probably need to let him go a little bit more. You said it yourself. He's been a leading rush for the last 3 games. That tells you how defenses are playing us. That tells you what everybody's trying to do. They're trying to take away the tailback. They're loading the box. They're squeezing, making. You know what I mean? So, even when you play 2 tight ends, you're still trying. They're still adding numbers to the box. It's a numbers game, and so unless you can really move 9 guys out, and you got 8, which is tough to do. And it happens, but your quarterback has got to be a prominent part of what you're doing. Running. That's why he's been having some success as far as some of these pools. And Brandon, I've said, is sneaky athletic. I've just tried to protect him probably a little bit more so by not making him do it. But he's proven that he's definitely capable of doing it, and he wants to do it. So, yeah, I got to take the lid off of him a little bit and let him probably play a little bit more. That's more on me. That's not him. That's on me. So.
And he said after the game, Rod, he was a bit surprised at how much Isaiah played. What was the idea behind that? Because I know it was the game plan. But what's the key to finding the right balance with doing that?
Well, he's right to a certain extent. I did have a handful of plays that I was going to get him in, whether it be a slot receiver, whether it be a quarterback as a change up, just because he's a different style than what Brandon is, and the defense has to account for that. When we went through a little dry spell there for a while, there wasn't much going on. I said, well, I'm going to give Isaiah a shot and see if he can give us a spark because his style brings a little different. If you notice, a lot of the runs we're getting on the perimeter, Isaiah's pretty good at doing that, and he's pretty electric. So that was more so that than was anything. So what like was playing, that was kind of out of just trying to get a spark. And I told Brad, it's not a negative on you. It's just we just trying to see if we can jump start and get going. And he understood. So that's part of the matchup throughout the course of the game. I told Matt Robinson, and Matt's been very good as well. I played Isaiah because Isaiah's skill set kind of matched a little bit of what we could possibly do a little bit better against Wisconsin. But it just didn't come to fruition, and we didn't do as good a job.
Thanks, Rod.
Matt?
Rod, with what you're describing, if Wisconsin playing cover 0 and maybe walking 9 guys in the box,
no, it wasn't 0. It was 1.
Oh, okay. Is there would the layman fan would you be able to explain to the layman fan maybe how offensive line grades were maybe closer to average than bad, if you know what I mean? I don't know anybody who graded out great after Friday, but would your offensive line maybe grade out closer to average and what you were asking them to do based off of what Wisconsin was giving you in a defensive front?
Yeah, they actually wasn't that bad. The protection for the most part was pretty decent. I mean, probably 10% of the time the quarterback ever gets a clean pocket. You got to be able to maneuver a little bit in the pocket. That's unrealistic to expect the pocket to be 100% clean all the time or even 80% clean. It's actually the reverse. You got to be able to move in the pocket, adjust, and so whatnot. But I thought the pockets were pretty decent for the most part. I mean, there was some times they did a lot of stunning, a lot of twisting. That did cause some issues at times. There was some good twists, good stunt. It's good coaching. It's a good staff on that part. And it did cause some problems a while. But for the overall, the guys did, not bad. Obviously, we could play better. There's some things in the run game that we got to get cleaned up that I thought could have helped us in the run game. But, the 95, that nose guard they got to me is that boy's a football player, and he caused problems. He did a good job, and so did we play good? I'm not gonna sit there and tell you we played good,
right,
because we did, but to say because there still was a lack of a run game because of, but it wasn't because we were so bad. I think it was because. They did a good job of throwing numbers, throwing hats into the box, which negated some of that. And there's a lot of free hitters, so that's why we tried to adjust and get more outside on times. And that's when we started having a little success with Brandon, with Mike Epstein, those guys getting to the outside on the edge. Tried to run the speed option at one time on third down with Isaiah and Chase Brown into the boundary. And boy, when you go back and you'll watch it, just watch it. I mean, the O-line blocks are beautiful. They cut the backers in the box. It's a touchdown. If our quarterback and running back pitch relationship is 5-by-2 like it should be, and the pitch is right, that pitch, the defender can't make the play. Chase Brown walks in. It's a different deal. It's a different feel. So it's little things like that we just got to keep on getting better at, and we will. That's what we're doing this week.
My quick follow-up, Rod, is that obviously Purdue has a new defensive coordinator in Bob Diaco with a new defensive scheme. Are you seeing a new defensive system out of Purdue, or are they still kind of formulating what they are because they're just so new and everybody? It's week 2 now of what he's wanting to do on defense.
I'm saying right now, they're we've been watching the last couple of days. They're a much better defense than they were last year. They got some different personnel in now. They're more athletic. They're bigger. He's got them flying around. You can tell they're playing with confidence. So, yeah, I mean, it's Bob. I don't know Bob personally. I just know of him. But I know I went against him one time, back a long time ago, and they're very. His philosophy hasn't changed a whole lot in terms of how he runs the defense. Very active. They're between a 4-man front and an odd front. I mean, they're in and out. They're edge pressure. I mean, there's a lot of coverage looks, a lot of variations, a lot of different looks to try to confuse offensive linemen and quarterbacks as well. They do a great job, and he's doing a good job there. And they got some new add-ons for defensive additions that I think it's just going to make them better to go along with Carl Loftus and the big nose guard, all the guys in the 55 is coming back as well. They got some good pieces coming back. I can't remember names. I know numbers.
Thanks, Rod. I appreciate it.
Joey?
Rod, you guys went in with the package for Isaiah. What did he show you in these weeks of practice to let you guys know that it was the right time to pull that lever and that he was ready to work some packages in?
Yeah, well, he's had about the last 2 weeks of really good practices, really good. And, he's really came on, I thought. And Matt Robinson has too. Both of them have. So I wouldn't have been afraid to use either one of them, to be honest with you, based off the practices that we saw. And so, and Brandon, that's why this was so disappointing, because we've had some good practices. It guts me a little bit because, damn it, we're better than that. That's not us. And we know we're better than that. We got to execute better. But back to your question is that, I just think that he proved in practice that, that was the guy that we recruited. We saw in practice. And he was much better than what he was last year at this time. Now, is it too early? Well, I don't know. I mean, we're going to keep on playing. We'll keep on getting him reps. We'll keep on getting him ready, because at some point in time, he's going to play at some point in time during his time here. And I just want to make sure that when that time is, and whether that's this week coming up or 2 weeks or whatever it is, that he's better the next show than he was this last show.
Thanks, Rod.
Scott, last one.
Hey, Rod, when we talked with you last Monday, you said, consistency more than anything is what you wanted to show from your offense. And maybe after Friday night's game not being that, how do you get to that level in a shortened season like this one is, where there's maybe not time to work on things you'd like to?
Yeah, you got big time. There's no other options. There's no bye weeks. There's no get out of jail freeze. I mean, it is what it is. It's a grind. It's a 9-week jump, and you go back to work and you work on immediately, and you start correcting things that guys. There's things that need to be corrected that we have did well in practice. We have did well even last year in a game, and why those showed up on Friday, it's just hard to explain. But I just know this: we know what they are. We know what the problems were. It's our job now to go back and try to get them fixed and get them corrected, and get our guys playing like they're capable of.
Thanks, Rod.
Thank you, Rod.
Thank you, guys.